Hey everyone, I wanted to take some time to talk about the new Dreadringer. Obviously, I said a little bit about it in the Embers video, but it's been some time since then. I've gotten to do more scrims with it, and yeah, I just want to basically go more in depth on my thoughts about the weapon. So I'm gonna go over the weaknesses I think it has compared to the vanilla kit, the strengths it has over it, and then talk a little bit about compositions, how the weapon will play, and its run in Area Cup 36 that it got third place in. So first off, let's talk about, I think, the two weaknesses of the weapon that are a bit more unique to this one compared to the vanilla Dread. And the first one is speed. Obviously, Reef Slider is a very quick special to use. It can get you far ahead into areas, and it allows you to play very heavily off of momentum. If you hit someone, you can instantly pop Slider and punish them. So it allows you to kind of poke in certain positions where the enemy knows if they get hit, you're going to be able to pop Slider and punish them for it. At the same time, if you really need to get into a position that's far away or contested, it gives you a way to potentially get over there, even if only briefly before you QSJ back. And obviously that's going to allow Dread to be a little bit faster, whereas Crab is a slow special. It locks you in place, and Dread is a slow weapon that can struggle to move around sometimes due to the lag it has. And so because of that, it is really important that you play around those weaknesses, and that is something that can be a problem sometimes. Generally, I would say this weapon is slower, more locked to its position, and often in more defensive positions than the vanilla Dread is. I'll talk about offsetting that more later. The second downside is the sub-weapon. I think that Curling Bomb was probably chosen to help offset the slow main and special weapon the more I think about it. And Curling does have some positive utility I'll get into later, but I do think it is overall a downgrade from Suction Bomb. At the end of the day, Suction has a lot more use cases when it comes to getting reliable damage, to poking positions Dread can't reach normally, to just being a normal bomb, all things considered. And it undoubtedly does hurt some situations where you would have a lot better of a job with a bomb, especially given that you are the support. So that being said, what are the strengths of this kit by comparison? Well, let's start with Curling, because Curling's a little bit less obvious. Curling is a cheaper sub at 65% of the ink tank. This does actually help it a lot with its numbers. Dread will run 2 subs of Ink Saver main, and with 2 subs of Ink Saver main, Curling is just cheap enough to give you 4 shots after a bomb. That's actually something you can't have with Suction. It makes Suction really difficult to use until your Last Ditch is active on Vanilla Dread. With Last Ditch, I believe it's 7 shots after Curling, while Suction Bomb is 6, so that's also better. So you can definitely use the sub-weapon a lot more. I think Curling does have some decent utility. If you partial charge it or cook it a little bit, it can allow you to poke with the main weapon. It can give you ways of having the opponent have it get off you. What the hell is going on with the replay? I did not fall off the map there in the game. I don't know why that looked like that. That was weird. Okay, anyway. That aside, it can be useful for mobility sometimes. There are cases where Curling's kept me alive. You can use it to threaten short-range weapons, sharking in with it. It definitely has its use cases, and most importantly, it is a fast-to-use painting tool. So, like, at the end of the day, Curling is going to have some utility, and most importantly, it does still help you get your crab faster. There are still positions where it's valuable to poke. It does still have its use cases, and thankfully, the main weapon even has decent synergy with it. I have gotten the Curling bump combo quite a few times, so there are definitely use cases for the Curling. It's not as bad as I thought it would be in terms of a sub-weapon downgrade, even if I do think it's worse. So I would say, positive number 1, there are good use cases for Curling. There are things it can do. Number 2 is the Crab, obviously. So as much as Crab does slow you down in places, it's definitely clear that Crab is still a top 5 special even after the nerfs. I really only see it being potentially worse than Cooler and Booyah Bomb. That's really about it. Obviously, Zuka has more output than Crab with the new mini splatting, but I do think it is a weaker special. There is still a lot of value to running Crab, even if there are a lot of things that can counter it now and more things that can shred it. It's a very stable special. It's very consistent. This is really the only midline with the Crab, since, Crab Edit's a little bit different. I guess it technically falls under it, but the use cases for Crab Edit are a lot more limited with the comps you can have. You have AoE that pairs with it. The main weapon combos extremely well with Crab. If you can, bump people, and then when your Crab runs out, you can go for a 90. You can fish for damage before going for any sort of Crab combo. There's a whole bunch of things you can do, and it still allows you to help survive. If anything, better than Reef Slider. Reef Slider technically starts up a bit faster, but I found Crab to be much more consistent. Like, the amount of times I've died in ball form to Crab Tank are significantly less than I've died in Reef Slider startup. I think Reef Slider startup deaths happen, almost every single day I've played this weapon. There are just straight up entire scrims where I'll play for 2 hours, and I don't think I've died in ball form a single time. So it definitely feels way more consistent. I think that makes it a better panic option, frankly. And ultimately, I think the special is just flat out a lot stronger, and it's also a traditional support special, which means it's much, much easier to build comps around the weapon. You're not really lacking key sustain tools or things that a normal support would have. So at the end of the day, it makes it to where it is much easier to pick this weapon alongside more other options. And that means it's much easier to practice the weapon, especially if you're playing like in pickups or something, because it's more likely that you're not going to ruin the comp you're playing with. So let's talk about comps. So I actually want to start by talking about the composition I saw ran in Area Cup 36. Again, that third place team that tried out Dreadringer for a bit there. I shouldn't say tried out, it's grind roll. They played Dreadringer. They ran basically the new Dread, the new Splattershot Pro, S-Blast, and Pencil. They did get third, but in their top 4 match, they got pretty stomped, to be honest. It was 0-3. Games weren't particularly close. And I think it definitely highlighted some flaws of the weapon. One, I think it's very iffy to pick it with too many supportive options. Mainly, I think that, vanilla, or not Pro. The new Pro kind of overlaps with that. It's definitely a little bit of half-half rather than a pure slang weapon. But 2, and most importantly, this is definitely a lot harder to run with Pencil. And I think that's been a thing for a bit where Dread and Pencil have some synergy for sure. I mean, one hit of Dread combos with Pen, that's definitely good. Pen can paint for it. But I think one thing that made Pencil Dread really important before is the synergy with Reef Slider. It can reliably get kills off the slider, and most importantly, can help paint with your slider. It's a really crucial part to making sure Zones Cheese happens more consistently. But now that we have a Crab Dread that hangs back more, that doesn't have Zones Cheese, that's more defensive generally, is Pencil really the best pair with that anymore? And I don't really think so. I think this Dread still paints very well. I'm still getting like 2k numbers plenty of the time, so you can still paint a lot without the slider. And I think ultimately this isn't really a Dread that feels like it needs a pen. I think you can play with pen. I think you can make it work. I've definitely gotten better at it, but you have to be very aggro with your crab positioning and just in general. I feel like it's not the best combo with it anymore. Most of the comps I'm talking about can just be played with a pen if you really want to, obviously. However, I think that it's actually better with either Edit, which I haven't really gotten to try anything. No one's really playing Edit in Top Level West right now, so I can't really have much comments on it. I don't think it's the best option anyway. Or, what I think is actually the best cooler option for Dread right now is Rapid Blaster. I think that Rapid Blaster is really nice. It's good at going in with Crab, and it generally likes Crab. And it gives you a comp where your support and anchor are very good at checking ledges. You can do 90 over the ledge, the Rapid can shoot under ledge, so you're very good at clearing people, especially other aggro weapons that can't match the range of either of your weapons. I've had a much easier time clearing things like Sloshers, or S-Blast, or Range Blast, or anything that would camp ledge. I think you have a really easy time dealing with that comp. And I think Rapid's damage helps it make up for Dread's lack of bomb or slider in any way, because Dread and Rapid pair very well together with their damage output. Just one hit off Rapid can allow your 90 to kill, or just 240 hits and 2 sloshes. It's a lot more feasible that you're going to find a kill when synergizing these two weapons together, and obviously they're both AoE. I also just think Rapid and Dread together make a lot of sense for Crab as an anchor. I think Crab is the best anchor, or not best anchor, best support special to run with Rapid comps, because sometimes your Rapid will go in and die, especially when they have cooler or be more aggressive. So it gives you a little bit more stability, which I think is nice. A lot of times you're going to give jumps, and having a tool that's good at getting those jumps in, I think is just very important. But what else do you run with it? I'm not sure. You can see one of the ideas I'm trying right here, which is Double Sword. Typically, Double Sword just doesn't have a good time dealing with AoE heavy stuff, but now you have Dread and Rapid together, and it kind of works. Both the swords have sustain tools, or you can run one with Zipcaster, which works too. It has a burst bomb, and Mint can paint and use Bubble for when Dread's in a crab. That's been working out fine so far, but it's still pretty new to test. The other idea would be a double cooler like Zapper. Probably Dapple would be a little bit better. I'm not too sure how I like Dread with double cooler, because obviously it's not an aggro weapon and Crab is a little bit slow. Double cooler comps typically just want to run it down as fast as possible, so I'm unsure if the synergy is there, but if double cooler does need more stability tools, it works, and I definitely think on lockout it's insanely oppressive, but I have also seen a lot of problems on retake with the comp, so I'm not entirely sure if it's the way to go for it. But outside of that, I mean, most AoE weapons pair well with it. I think S-Blast pairs well with Dread. You'd probably want Penerated for it. I think Slosher is still totally fine with it. I do like the new Splattershot Pro if I'm fighting like a Pen or particularly Leader or Crab Charger comp, and I want the missiles for it. But if I'm fighting a more aggressive or fast-paced comp, I don't really want doubling up on the support. Stuff like that is all things I think are fine for it. And there's probably more options I haven't considered or tried out yet. The new Dually comes to mind as something that might work with it, typically because it's good with rapid comps, and I think Bubble is very valuable right now with more missiles and Zuka, things that Bubble very naturally deals with. Stuff like that. I would just say in general, though, I'm not going to pair this with any full support. I'm not going to play with like a Mini or a Splash or anything like that I don't really see working. I also still don't see this being really a great weapon for coolerless comps. Definitely more feasible than the Vanilla Dread, since it is a crab weapon instead of a slider one, but I still don't particularly like it. I think Dread still has a lot of points where it needs to play forward because it does do valuable damage for teammates, and without a sub-weapon, you'd need to be in at least Dreadringer range to do that damage. So I'm a little bit unsure Coolerless would work for it, but as of now, I'm still testing the waters, obviously. I have also gotten to fight a good bit of comps that deal with Crab very well, things like, I'd say the main one would be like Crab Sword, Zimmy Smiling, and then like a Slosher or a Carbon, or something that also has a special that shreds Zuka, or that shreds Crab. And so far that's felt like you definitely need some kind of answer to that, which just further incentivizes, I really want to make sure I have a bubble weapon on my team, so I have something to deal with this thing. But I don't think it feels that bad, honestly. We definitely haven't seen a whole lot of Crab right now, because all the supports are trying new weapons, so honestly, we've barely seen any V-Splash in the past week and a half, which feels a little weird. But I do think when everyone's done playing all the shiny new stuff a bit and we see more Splash again, then we'll definitely see like how Splash and Crab players can adapt to this change. But if I had to take a guess, Crab has survived going against shredding comps for it before, and as annoying as the new Mini Smiling is it worse than dealing with 190 V-Shot with the old Bazooka? Probably not. I think that Crab will most likely be fine. So for now, I think it's just a bit of a search to find the right comp to play with it, to work on that and figure it out. But as of now, I think that the new Dread, while definitely playing different than the old one, also, of course, is very good, and I'm excited to try and develop the weapon more. But yeah, I think it's a good weapon. I still think it's S+, or maybe even X tier. We'll see how the weapon develops, and thanks for watching.